The sky didn't turn red, and there was no grand explosion. It was just a quiet Tuesday when the news broke. Comet, they called it, Ozymandias, had fractured. It's not into a few pieces, but thousands. A shotgun blast aimed right at Earth. The world had about a week. My wife, Sarah, and I looked at our two kids, 10-year-old Lily and 16-year-old Tom. And the unspoken promise we'd always lived by suddenly became a desperate, tangible goal. We would survive. Panic was a tidal wave. Supermarkets were stripped bare in ours. Gas stations became battlegrounds. But we weren't focused on that. My grandfather, a man who'd lived through the Great Depression, had built a cabin deep in the mountains. A place he called the Last Stand. It was stocked, fortified, and most importantly, isolated. That was our destination. We packed what we could: heirloom seeds, medical supplies, every book on engineering and agriculture I owned, and the kids' favorite worn-out stuffed animals. Leaving our home, the place where Lily took her first steps, and Tom learned to ride his bike, was the first of many heartbreaks. The drive was a blur of chaos and desperation. We saw the best and worst of humanity on those choked highways. People helping strangers change a tire, others fighting over the last can of fuel. It was a terrifying preview of the world to come. We reached the Last Stand just as the first impacts were being reported. The cabin was exactly as I remembered it, smelling of pine and cold stone. It felt like a sanctuary, a bubble in time. The first night we huddled together, listening to the static-filled radio announce city after city going dark. The ground trembled, not like an earthquake, but a deep, constant shudder, as if the planet itself was groaning in pain. Lily cried quietly into Sarah's shoulder, while Tom just stared out the reinforced window, his face a mask of stone. I couldn't offer them promises of a bright future anymore. All I could offer was the next sunrise. The days that followed were a grueling routine. The sky was a permanent, hazy twilight, choked with dust and ash. The sun was a pale, ghostly disk. We called it the dim time. Our first priority was water. The stream my grandfather had relied on was contaminated, full of a fine gray silt. We spent weeks building a complex filtration system using charcoal, sand, and cloth, celebrating every clean drop like it was champagne. Then came food. The canned goods would only last so long. We had to get the greenhouse running. The soil outside was toxic, so we hauled in dirt from a nearby cave system, bucket by painstaking bucket. Lily, who had always been a quiet, artistic child, discovered a surprising talent for botany. She nurtured our small collection of seeds with a fierce tenderness, talking to the tiny sprouts as they pushed through the soil. Her little garden became the heart of our new world. Tom, on the other hand, channeled his teenage anger and fear into work. He became our security, our engineer. He learned how to maintain the solar panels, how to set snares, and how to read the strange new weather patterns. He rarely smiled, but his protection was a silent, constant reassurance. Sarah was our anchor, while I focused on the big picture, the structure, the long-term plans. She focused on us. She rationed our supplies with an iron will, but made sure every meal felt like a special occasion. She organized lessons for the kids, using the old books we'd brought. We learned history by firelight and physics by fixing the water pump. She fought to keep our humanity intact, reminding us to sing, to tell stories, to remember the world before the fall. Without her, we would have been just 4 people surviving. She made us a family. One day, about a year in, our radio crackled to life. It was the first clear signal we'd heard in months. A faint, desperate voice calling out from a settlement 100 miles south. They were out of medical supplies and a sickness was spreading. They'd heard rumors of other survivors, other small pockets of humanity. We had a choice: stay hidden in our sanctuary or risk everything for strangers. We looked at each other, at the small, fragile world we had built. We looked at our children, who were no longer just children, but survivors, builders, pioneers. The decision wasn't easy. It was terrifying. But as we packed a small portion of our precious medical supplies, I saw a flicker of the old world in Tom's eyes. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about what we were surviving for. The next morning, Tom and I set out, leaving Sarah and Lily to guard our home. We walked into the gray, uncertain dawn, not knowing what we would find. But for the first time in a long time, we were walking towards something. not just away from it. The journey to rebuild wouldn't be easy, but as long as we had each other, we had hope. The apocalypse had taken our world, but it couldn't take our humanity. Not as long as we were willing to share it. Thanks so much for watching. This story is a testament to the strength of family and the resilience of the human spirit. If you enjoyed this journey, please hit that like button. Consider subscribing for more stories about survival, hope, and what it means to be human in the face of impossible odds. Let me know in the comments what you would have done. Stay safe, and see you next time.